Are you a casual viewer? Well, good luck, you're in luck. Because this time it's the 40th anniversary, and we're here to bring you, yet again, everything that has happened between the 25th of December all the way to the 13th of February 2025. And whether you're a casual viewer, whether you're a regular watcher, this is here to help you. This is a casual viewer's guide to the 40th anniversary. EastEnders turns 40. Not many people make it to 40. Ash's dad died at 39. He couldn't make it to 40. Your parents can't make it to 40. So this is just, it's been 40 years since 1985. Think of all the brilliant things that's happened since then. We had Sharon Gate, we had Den Watts' death, we had Bradley's death, we had Lucy's death. There's been lots of storylines that has happened. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to my main man.
Alright, so the schedule for the 40th anniversary goes as followed. First and foremost, EastEnders running 4 times as per usual, the normal schedule, Monday to Thursday. But unlike what's been happening lately, EastEnders does usually drop them early. They're not doing it this time. EastEnders is releasing 3 of the episodes at 7:30 p.m. You can watch it live on BBC One, or you can watch it as the full episode is dropped on the iPlayer. So if you're a particularly cheeky person, you could just skip to the end and see what happens. Well, alternatively, no, there's not going to be that many people doing it with you, so you will have to wait till everybody watches it to talk about it afterwards. Wednesday is an hour-long episode. It is a mammoth episode. And there's also, at the end of Wednesday's episode, you have a chance to vote. There is a fan vote that we're able to vote on. We'll talk about what that storyline is in a few moments, but you get to choose who a certain Denise will be with. Will it be with this sexy younger model, Ravi Galassi, more pecs than man, or Jack, Jack Branning, long-term, stable, bit of a nuisance, always orders takeaways. You get to choose who Denise will be with. You can vote after the episode on Wednesday, going into the Thursday episode. And what is a Thursday episode? It's a fully live episode. Not like last live episodes back in 2015, where there were some live elements to episodes. A full live episode, which obviously isn't going to be dropped early on the iPlayer, simply because they can't film that yet. But it will still air at 7:30 on Thursday the 19th. And that is the tail end of the anniversary week.
The 20th. Don't mean to...
The 20th.
Oh yeah, I will run through quickly our schedule. So obviously, we will be live at 7:25, Monday to Wednesday. So you will get our live reactions, and then you will get a cheeky little Walford on tap afterwards, which will then be published later on in the night on
And Walford
YouTube.
on tap, in case you don't know, it's just us recapping in, well, depending on how important the episodes are, typically like 10 to 15 minutes of everything, like the main thing that happened in the episode, you just kind of debrief about it. But still, 4 of those will be coming out that week.
Yeah, and well, obviously, if you like our reactions, if we do something funny, like say Ash does a jumping jack to Jack Brannon getting out of the hot tub, that will be edited down and put onto a lovely little bumper edition of reactions on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. And it'll be Saturday night, sorry, I'm getting confused. On Thursday, we will be live again at 7:25. We will do the EastEnders and then the Walford on tap. And then, just because you win a lucky prize, you get to see us do the podcast live. So you get to see all the bits that don't make it into the podcast.
I mean, I am excited. I think now is time to actually... I'll just simply list out the storylines, not go through in detail. We'll go through it one by one. But the storylines are as followed. There's even a special little picture to show you. From left to right in this picture, we have Stacey, Martin, and Ruby, which wasn't entirely dubbed as a love triangle, but it has ended up being one. That is culminated with Martin unable to choose. Who does he want to be with? The woman who he was most recently with, or the woman he spent a lot of his last decade with? All in all, who will Martin choose? Is his time running out? Is Stacey's time running out? Or is Ruby's time running out? More on that later. Next, we have Phil Mitchell, who is a long ways away from the Phil Mitchell we know and love. He has been struggling with his mental health as of late, and in true self, he's kind of decided maybe it's time to go. Maybe I don't want to be here anymore. Not in terms of Walford, in terms of life. He has spiraled further and further, with recent scenes showing him seeing his old self, seeing Peggy Mitchell. He is really tailing away. Grant has been called in by Nigel, who him, Nigel, probably Sharon and Linda will all be there to try and figure out just how they can get through to Phil, even if he doesn't feel like he deserves love. Continuing forward, in the middle, we have Cindy Beale, the woman who returned from the dead. She was dead, now she's not. She also has more kids than she had when she left. How does that work? We'll get into that later. But Cindy, at Christmas, told everybody what she thought of them. Which, I can't lie, did not end well. Why? Well, because Cindy told everybody anything and everything that would hurt them. So on Christmas night, someone crept up behind her, smashed her in the head with a shovel, and lo and behold, Cindy said, "Night, night." She didn't die, but she was in hospital. But ever since, she's been pointing the finger at literally everyone humanly known that they attacked her. And this comes to a head as Cindy's got a gun, and she's not going to be afraid to use it. Pushing on forward, though, we have Denise and her love triangle. She has been having two suitors. Jack, the man who she was pretty much married to for, nearly 5 years now. And Ravi, a man who she nearly had an affair with, didn't go that far, and then he blackmailed their entire family. Yeah, we love that. Successful suiting. But as of late, they've gotten closer and closer, and the fan vote is who she's going to be with. Is she going to be with Ravi, who may be bad, and he may be sexy, and he may have a man bun, but let's forget that last one. But still, who is she going to be with? A man for the future, or the man of her past? Quickly onwards, Billy and Honey, they're getting married after all this time, after all the Billy cheating on her with Tina, of all people, and after all this time, they're finally engaging with each other. They're finally getting married at this 40th anniversary. But it's a wedding, and not all weddings in Walford all go hunky-dory. Funky-dory. Billy and Honey are getting married in this anniversary, so let's hope it doesn't go off with a bang. And finally, on the end, you have Reiss, Sonia, and Bianca. Two names you may know, one name you may not. Sonia is pregnant with Reiss's baby, but Reiss has killed his ex-wife to try and pay for the baby and the insurance and everything in between, and also kidnapped her sister, Bianca, for about 4 months in his storage unit. But the week before the anniversary, Bianca got out, smashed him on the head, as Sonia fully found out that Reiss killed Debbie and kept Sonia hostage. So that's the quick rundown. It's the quick rundown. That is the Cliff Notes version. That is a very brief. But now we will go into more detail, everything that's been happening, why, how, etc., etc. So Piggy can start to guide us through.
It is Sonia, Bianca, and Reiss. What has happened between Sonia, Reiss, and Bianca? Well, I'm going to quickly just break the EastEnders fourth wall necessarily, because last summer, Natalie Cassidy wants to see the grass is greener. She went into a new field, she ran around, she felt happy, she felt there was more space, there was no furniture cluttering. So last summer she handed in her resignation notice, or whatever it is, or P45, and she just went, "Look, mate, I'm going to feel it out for the next few months, but I do have to be off. I do have to film for Channel 4. I am leaving. You have missed a lot of history." And I mean a lot of history. So, in 2022, just like in real life, the actress who played Doc Cotton passed. And with her passing in real life, you can't really bring her back. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, this little bugger here, Reiss, the guy who's balding, he was introduced. He's an original creation of Chris Clancy, if you couldn't tell.
Was
And he was
executive producer.
the executive producer
The
at the time.
soap bar.
Thank you. Exactly. And basically, so when he was introduced in late 2022 at Dot's funeral that week, we just assumed he was a quirky guy. We just assumed he was a nice, quirky guy. Maybe had a bit of the autism. You know, might be on the spectrum. You know, he likes D&D, not BDSM. You know, that kind of thing. We found out later throughout the year that things weren't really that same, because we found out that he had a wife and she was in a comatose state, and she had a stroke and she went into a comatose state. So she was basically just lying in a bed, essentially.
It's the thing where she was still she wasn't like technically dead, and if it were more severe, she probably would have had the choice to just take her off life support, but she was still breathing and her body was still functioning by itself, but there was no real change of her getting better or her recovering. So ultimately, you couldn't switch the life support off because she's not legally dead or not legally required to. But also, it had been 5 years and she'd shown zero chance of any recovery.
Yeah, and with this revelation, I think it came out in 2020. Yeah, it was 2023 because Rocky Cotton was there. Rocky Cotton found out about his secret. Basically, Reiss had a wife. Now, Sonia is not into a polyamorous relationship. Didn't really know how to feel, because on one hand, Reiss has a wife. On the other hand, you want to start dating this man, so you're kind of conflicted. You don't know what to do. And she's later come to realize, yeah, maybe I like Reiss. Maybe I can deal with this. Yeah, it's going to be a bit hard when you have intercourse and he says Debbie's name instead of mine. That's going to be a bit hard, but I can get over that. And then 2024 rolls around. And this is, in my opinion, where Chris Crenshaw, instead of rolling the cart down the hill gently, he pushed it down the hill, and then 4 wheels came flying off, and the cart just went flying over the hill onto its bare bum. As Sonia wanted a child with Reiss. Now this wouldn't be a problem. Reiss is infertile, Sonia is infertile, and Debbie is in hospital. Debbie needs care.
I think it was more so Reiss's problem that Reiss couldn't naturally produce a baby, and Sonia with her being a slightly older mum, ultimately it was a bit harder to, time is a ticking clock. Sometimes when you go older, it's harder to conceive, and that exactly was how.
Yeah, so obviously Debbie was being funded to be in a care home. Now, also I should mention that Reiss is an accountant. Why am I mentioning this? Well, he ran into money problems in 2024. Debbie's life support, well, not life support, but her carer money started to run out. So,
which we would later learn that he wasn't even paying the bulk of.
What happens? Well, he schemes Sharon out of money. He schemes Phil out of money. Now, this would be a good thing. But there's 3 things you don't do in life. You don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't piss in the wind, and you don't piss off Phil Mitchell when he's not depressed. And Reiss done all 3 of these. Well, would you know it, in late July or early July 2024, Reiss didn't sign into the hospital, into the care home. He took a lovely pillow, put it to Debbie's face, and just ended her life. That was the end of Debbie. I will say she did fantastic in her role. The person who played Debbie, wonderful actress. So, now we have this conundrum. Natalie Cassidy in real life has to film for Channel 4. You can't really bring her onto set because she's contractually obligated to be at this show, so you run into a bit of scheduling conflict. Why am I bringing this up? Well, EastEnders had to quickly probably had to diverse very quickly, and they had to be like, oh yep, Sonia's in jail. Sonia didn't sign into the care home, so she's in jail now, and that's it. Don't question it. So she went into the hospital. She went into jail, where she would rot until January. Now we'll get back to Sonia, but finishing off Reiss, be reintroduced, to my opinion, a Margaret Thatcher look-alike, and in my opinion, one of the greatest dads ever in the history of soaps. You and Brenda Caldwell. Now these two were funding for Debbie's healthcare. As Reiss again, he kind of just, it was like a toy. He kind of just left it to the side and didn't really play with it anymore. He just got fed up, I guess. It's like when the PlayStation 1 is being outdated, so they're bringing the PlayStation 2. You know, it's just a natural occurrence. And they got mad because he was funding for IVF using Debbie's money, which he didn't like. And now, Reiss is faced with the ultimatum of that they think her wife, his fiance, killed his wife, but she didn't. And Brenda lashes out her. Reiss says, "You're not getting anything in the divorce, in the will." And would you know it, Debbie left nothing to Reiss. And I mean, when I say nothing, I mean nothing but a dollhouse. I know it's more, when I say the car falls off the wheels, I mean it. Because some ginger lady who screams Ricky has entered the scene again. It's just like a charm. I'm sorry. She enters the scene. But what happened with Bianca? Well, earlier in the year, Bianca suffered with depression, but she had an argument with Sonia because she went, "Sonia, you know Reiss is a bit of an oddball," and Sonia goes, "So what? He picks his nose. He's a lovely gentleman. So what? He picks his nose and farts in bed and whops the covers. So what?" And Bianca went, "All right, you don't believe me. All right, I'll see you." So what happened? Well, she came back sniffing for Reiss, and would you know it, Reiss went, "Okay, Bianca, you've seen the footage." Bianca did see the footage, by the way, as it was uncovered by Teddy Mitchell. It was uncovered by Teddy, and he gave the second copy to Bianca, and Bianca seen the footage. Now, any sane person, when you met with a killer, you would call the police. Bianca, on the other hand, did not. As Reiss went, "I have the pillow in my lockup," and Bianca went, "You do you? All right, I'll go. I'll just follow you to the lockup." And he was handcuffed. She was handcuffed there. Bianca's in a lockup. Now, fast forward to Christmas. Nothing's really been done here. Christmas is already filmed in September. Nothing's really been done. Insert January, a return to see Sonia Fowler. Now, Sonia is in jail. She's not doing too great. She's about 8 months pregnant. She's doing horrible. She's been left to rot in jail. And Reiss has done everything he can do to free Sonia. I did that in quotations. Again, you'll find out in a minute. He's done everything to free her, but he's done literally nothing. Because while Martin and Jack and everyone else were actually trying to fight for Sonia, Reiss was like just not giving a shit. He was just not covering his own back or Sonia's back. Now, this is where things turn again. As Sonia goes to trial, and they find her not guilty. Why do they find her not guilty? We're reintroduced to Bianca. "Reiss, I've got a bright idea." And Reiss goes, "Oh, yeah, what do you want, Bianca?" "I will film a confession saying I confess to the murder of Debbie Caldwell." Now, the reason why this backfired on Reiss is, and it'll be brought up again because it just happened, is he gave her details that only the killer would know. And that is a key part, and you'll find out in a minute. So, Sonia is free, but Bianca is not. Why is Bianca not free? Because Reiss does not want Bianca to live, because she will expose his secret. If you have a sister who's been kidnapped, but you don't know it, and she's secretly on the run, you don't have a lot of questions, like, why did she never visit me when I was in jail? Why did she not show up for any of my court appearances? So Reiss just lied and lied and lied. So he's also deleted the confession because that's what the company told him to do.
He lied and said that the CPS told him to delete the footage, but the CPS would never do that because it's evident.
Yes, and Sonia basically knew a man. His name was Jack Brannan. "Hey Jack, can you help me out?" And Jack went, "Yeah." So last week / this week, she was given the tape. She looked at the tape, and she looked at it, and she looked at it, and she looked at it. I know any sane person, it would drive you mad, and it drove Sonia mad. Here comes the ending, folks. Don't you worry. This is where we rev up. He's told by Yolanda, just delete the tape, because earlier on Lauren was having a go at Sonia because she had what's the word? Asking you, help me here.
She was just stressing herself out consistently by repeatedly watching this tape and just all in all making herself a bit ill, making the baby ill in a sense by being so fixated on this tape.
Yes, and she ended up going to hospital, and then they sent her out, and then Yolanda just confronts her, and they say a few prayers from Dot's Bible, and then Yolanda and they just go delete the tape. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the greatest shots EastEnders has done all this year. I know there's only been like 2 months, but I love this shot so much. So we see Sonia is looking at the confession tape, and it's a dollhouse. Obviously, this is Reiss's dollhouse, by the way. It's not just some randoms. She looks at she goes to delete the tape. She zooms in. She sees the dollhouse. She looks to her left or her right, and spots the dollhouse. Now, 2 and 2, you put 2 and 2 together, you're like, that seems a bit odd. Reiss's car broke down because he's tried 2 times to get Bianca to overdose herself. And obviously, when Reiss tells you to do it, you just laugh in his face. He's not
like a very convincing villain.
Because it's like, I'm telling you to not do it, but you're a pretty bad person, you know. He just couldn't do it. See, he goes to get some. He basically leaves everything behind to see Sonia in hospital. But he finally snaps at Sonia, saying, I've done everything to protect you. Sonia tries to escape. Reiss stops her. She goes to escape again. Reiss stops her. And Reiss just... This is where, like, I literally shit for myself. Because Reiss, up to this point, has been like a Looney Tunes villain. Elmer Fudd. But he just snaps instantly. And he's like, I'm doing everything to protect you, Sonia. And he just lets one loose. Like, he goes off on a rant. And then Bianca comes in with a fast, and just dunks him on the head. Breaks it over his head. They're reunited. Bianca has escaped. They go to Jack. And then what happens? Jack goes to check on Reiss. They obviously bring him to jail. But oh no, in classic soap fashion, Reiss has escaped. Now, to end this off, Bianca has been to the police station. She's said that, like, oh, he locked me up.
She's cleared of all the charges.
Yeah, she's cleared of all the charges. And now Reiss is on the run. But Reiss will be back next week. That's the key. Or this week, when this comes out. He will be back, and he will play a major role in the 40th anniversary.
Yeah, Reiss will be back during the anniversary week to have his final showdown. This is now the bit about the anniversary, saying how it's been revealed that Sonia will give birth in the Queen Vic in what we know is the Blaze. We'll get into that more later, but there's going to be a massive fire. Sonia's going to give birth to the baby with no medical assistance in this fire. And with Reiss returning, we've seen a trailer where we've heard what seems to be Bianca telling what we would assume to be Reiss to get away from her, as Reiss is likely going to try and get away with either Sonia or the baby. It's everything he's fought for. It's everything he's been desperate to keep grips on, and he's killed for this baby. He has kidnapped and held hostage for this baby. He has done everything he humanly can. And so obviously he will be coming back for revenge. Bianca's always stood in his way. She's never liked him. So he wants revenge. He wants that baby. He's lost too much to give up now. And that is where it comes to a head. In terms of some slightly not so story like lore things, what do we know about this? Well, as Piggy mentioned earlier, Natalie Cassidy has decided it's time to shut the curtains on Sonia, and Sonia will be leaving the show, and we know that her final scenes will probably be this anniversary. She'll likely leave in one of these episodes. She'll be gone for good or gone for however long she chooses to see fit, but she will be leaving the show as of this anniversary. Just like Reiss, we know that Reiss is gone too. So that kind of goes to speculation about both of their status, you know? We know that there are possibly going to be... Well, we know that there's going to be one death that's been confirmed. But that's just confirmed. It's an anniversary. Sometimes you just have to sacrifice some characters for the drama. Just how it works. So that probably makes sense that one of those characters... very likely to be Reiss. But that's all speculation.
Because the next one, I literally don't really have to talk about anything. Because the next person up on this list is Billy and Honey. Now, Billy, in 2024, ran a marathon in Lola's honour. And at the marathon, he proposed to
Honey ran the marathon. Billy.
Sorry, it's the other way around. Yeah, Billy sat on the sidelines. Honey ran the marathon. And it was honestly a comedic episode. But in that episode, he proposed to Honey. Now, they were on and off because we didn't know when it was going to happen. And then at Georgia and Elaine's wedding, it was confirmed it was happening the 17th, the 40th anniversary week in real life. Just another Monday, because this is all set at one day, so it's just another Monday for them in the show. And that's basically it. They didn't really have a build up there. The Hen and Stag do, and Minty and Gary showed up as cameo. There was a guy from West Ham who did the Hammers thing. That was literally it. Jared Bowen. That was literally all Billy and Honey's build up has been. I can't really say much. They're kind of involved with the Phil stuff that we'll get to. What I'm going to do next is going to go run through Denise and Jack and Ravi, and then I'm going to skip over to Phil and Stacey, and then I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave the Walford Whacker to the end. Anything you have got to say on Billy and Honey?
I mean, it's about time, right? They've been married before, and now it's time to be married again. But this time, there's been no real dramas in terms of them actually just fully being in love with each other. They've truly realised that they are destined to be together, and it's only really a matter of time before they tie the knot. But as always, it's a Walford wedding. It's never as easy. It's been teased that Cindy will make her presence known at the wedding, not because of Billy or Honey, but because someone who she believes attacked her will be there. And with knowing that, as I briefly mentioned, Cindy's got a gun, or at least as far as we can tell, not exactly going to be, you know, could there be blood spilled on the dance floor? Could there be a murder on the dance floor? You never know. Better not kill the groove.
This is about Denise, Jack, and Ravi. Now, as much as I wished the viewer's choice was to pick between Ravi and Jack getting married themselves or dating themselves, it is not. Now, Denise has had a rocky couple of past 2 years. She was involved in the killing of Keanu, although not medical. She was just there as a witness. And will I lump in Sucky with this as well? Just a kind of...
Nah.
Because she is kind of there with Ravi, but very distant. Anyways, Sucky and Eve got married on New Year's. And in the build-up, Nish had a target. Because Nish found out, well, somebody tried to kill me. And that person was Denise. So on New Year's Day, he lowered Denise to his little workshop house and knocked her over the head with a champagne bottle because she followed Nugget, who was also talking to his Dada G, and was in cahoots with him, but like cahoots in the way like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do this, but he was just kind of, just blackmailed. So she was whacked over the head. Ravi went to save Denise. Jack saved Denise, and that was pretty much it for the most part. And they were on and off. And then in the past couple of weeks, they remembered, oh yeah, we have a storyline with Ravi, Jack, and Denise, and the viewer's choice comes into play now. So Jack has been trying to get it on with Denise and failing. There's been scenes where Jack's in a pool, like he's in a hot tub, and he's like, "Hey Denise, what do you think?" And Denise is like, maybe I want to. And then there's obviously Ravi, who's lost literally everything. His businesses were left to his kids, and Bernie's the executive holder of that businesses until they turn 18. And also, as well, he wasn't left any businesses in the will either, because it went to Finney and Ash. So Ravi pretty much lost everything. But Denise, he really fell in love with Denise. But that's where we run into the problem now, as it's now left in the hands of the viewers. I might have missed some stuff.
I mean, it's just simply, does Denise go for... Look, Jack and Denise's marriage basically ended because he cheated on her with Stacey Slater, you know, the Branning curse, if you will. So, and they were together for years, but fundamentally, Jack and Denise's relationship was basically predicated on Denise being a good stepmom to his kids. You know, she was never number one in the relationship. He never really took her feelings seriously. At the end of the day, he was just happy that someone was there to help him raise his kids. And yes, it ended in him cheating, and they tried to reconcile, but in the end, it just wasn't fit. And they've not really built up the idea of Jack and Denise, because they have like 5 years worth of history. They got married in the around 2020, 2021 roughly, that sort of time period when Chelsea got married to Gray Atkins. The main thing with this, though, is then you get Ravi, who is still, his past with Denise isn't exactly great. They have kind of bonded over the trauma of being involved in someone's death and needing to cover it up. They've kind of bonded over that trauma. They both know they've done things that are bad, but still, do you go back to the past, what was the norm, something very safe, very simple, or do you go to Ravi, who, having just been involved in his dad's death, the second person he's been involved, as far as we know, of their death, he's got a big secret. He wants to keep soldiering forward, making his own way, because his dad was never going to support him. So does Denise go for safe or fireworks, essentially? Is that what she wants? And I don't know who's going to win. Is it worth saying who do you reckon we'd vote for? I honestly don't know. I don't think either option are... See, you know, it's like an election. Just like, can I vote third party? Can I vote for none of the above? Because they're not great. Like, I want Denise to choose herself, but that's not an option.
Now, I don't want our opinions to dictate who you want to vote for. But basically use our opinions to vote for who you want to vote for. But I will say, if I had to choose between Jack or Ravi, it is Ravi, because I feel like the Jack stuff, this is only probably going to be the only part where we kind of give our actual thoughts and stuff. I feel like the Jack stuff has been played out. It's been like not beaten to death, but it's just something that's already done. Why don't you go back to the well? It's like when they did Who Shot Phil in 2001, and then about 8 years later they did a Who Shot Phil again. It's like, you've done it once, why would you do it again? Or an example would be like, Cindy cheated on Ian. Okay. 20 years later, Cindy has cheated on Ian. Okay. 20 years later, Cindy has cheated on Ian. You know, it's just, why would you go back to the well? No, you can always go back to the well, but not when when you just cleaned it out 2 minutes ago. You can't go back to the well. The well's not even full. So it's just a sticky situation, because it's like, do you go for Jack and you have same old, or do you go for Ravi and try your best? Now, the problem they also ran into, which I don't know if they expected this to be a problem, is in recent weeks, we have seen Priya get closer to Ravi and bundle up to Ravi, like being like, oh, I love you, yeah, you're great, Mom, you're a great dad.
They've shown what we're missing out on if Ravi wins, essentially, because... Look, you reunite Ravi with Priya, the mother of his kids. They were not like high school sweethearts, but they were both young adults in a bad place. They have shown that all in all they do fit together. They've been through a lot together. They've struggled the same battles. They've struggled with the same sorts of things. They are bonded. They have this natural chemistry together due to what they've been through. So they've shown that Ravi and Priya is probably more exciting than Ravi and Denise, whilst not really doing Jack and Denise. So it's just they've like, you can say that I don't think either option smells of roses, and I don't think EastEnders has kind of taken it like that, because still, neither option seems very good.
We do have to be critics, because this is obviously a channel. You can't have us just be holly and jolly for all this stuff. We can't really lie. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if my co-host, my compadre, my El Bandido can agree with me, but this has just been not really an interesting part. Like, this is like when they announced a sequel to a movie that happened 20 years ago, and then it's like, oh,
it's an afterthought. It's an afterthought, really. Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, are they going to build up Jack and Denise? Nah, just Ravi. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, that's enough of that. That's the fan vote. You vote on Wednesday night after the hour-long episode. You vote on who Denise is going to pick out of Ravi or Jack. Which one are you going to pick? Well, make sure to think about it and get your vote prepared, and you can vote Wednesday night after the episode.
Now, Stacey, Ruby, and Martin. Now, I'm going to give a bit more context to this as well, just like the Reiss stuff to an extent. Lacey Turner is going on maternity leave. Now, this has caused a lot of speculation because, like Ash said, there's a fire. They've been talking about Martin's legacy a lot. You know, you put the two of those together, it's a hint at, does he die? It also leads to like, oh, does that mean then if he dies, do we get Susan Tully's Michelle one last time? But that's obviously speculation. The actual rundown is, back in December, it might be November, Ruby returned to our screens with lovely Roman the kid. Obviously, Ruby is Johnny Allen's daughter, and she returned. Martin at the start was like, it's Ruby. Do I really care? I just want the kid. Fuck her. Just fuck her. I just want the kid. I don't care. Just give me the child. And through time, they've grown closer and closer and closer. But hold on, because another character has entered the play. Stacey Slater will remember this. Stacey is in love with Martin. Stacey has the feelings for Martin. And while Martin is dating Ruby, or is just coupling up to Ruby, and Stacey is kind of jealous, but not really. She is jealous. It's just like, she's not openly admitted yet, but we can clearly tell she does not like this. And Stacey did confess to Martin the day before Christmas, or the week up to Christmas, when he was going to give Roman his liver transplant, or his kidney transplant, one of the two, because Roman really needed it. She did confess to Martin, look, I love you and everything. But Martin, like your dad, when he has too many shots of whiskey on Christmas Day, was just in the chair like, this is with Ruby and Stacey fighting over Martin. Martin keeps talking about his legacy. He keeps talking about everything about the past. And also, Martin now owns his stall. Ian Beale no longer owns the stall. Martin now officially owns it, as Ruby bought it for him as a present. Now, this leaves a lot of rumours, because Ruby's return was speculated just to be a prolonged stint. So we don't know whether she's going to die in the Queen Vic Fire.
I mean, it's more so said that when she returned, she said, I think it's time to wrap things up with Ruby, which, you know, as a little speculatory thing, yeah, sure, you may be technically wrapping things up and moving on, but, like, you don't wrap things up unless they're over. You wrap things up ahead of you leaving, so there's no, like, extra questions or discussions needed. But the point of this Stacey, Martin, Ruby stuff has been that even though the entire time Ruby has been pushing forward to try and get everything to be better for Martin, the issue for Martin is each time Ruby does something nice for him, he just kind of goes, yeah, but Stacey did more. Yeah, but Stacey did more. It's like, oh, Ruby, you managed to save the market that I was really struggling and stressing myself over. Wow, thanks for doing that. But it was Stacey who fixed it, despite Martin gutting Ruby's, like, approach, being like, oh, no, that's just untrustworthy, though. It just shows that you were who you used to be. And it's just constantly Martin is comparing the two. And all in all, he's generally picked Stacey over Ruby, despite technically being back with Ruby and being in a relationship with her. That's possibly what's gonna happen in the fire.
It's just Stacey next week's gonna come for tell Martin her feelings, and then a fire's gonna break out. Now, where do I start with Philip? Mr. Philip, I don't know his middle name, Mitchell. Well, there's a lot to unpack here. Since Christmas, Phil has been struggling. Phil has, well, not even before Christmas really. Phil hasn't been diagnosed, but he's been going through depression. And why has he been going through depression? He wants to wrap everything up, basically.
I mean, all his family's gone, essentially.
Yeah.
Phil has isolated himself from all of his family. Ben left, last year? He was sent to prison in America. Louise is still in Portugal with Lisa. And all of his current children on the square, Raymond, who he had with Denise, Sharon, who he had with Albie, who he had with Sharon. Is there another Phil Rugrat hanging around? I've forgotten at this point. Raymond and Albie.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially but they don't the mums don't really want Phil to be a part of their lives. And also he split up with Kat, which left him all on his lonesome. And even with a new Mitchell family moving in, a younger model in a sense, he's quickly just fallen from the head of the table to nobody wants to sit at his.
Yes. And now on Christmas, do you want me to put a brief rundown about who these new Mitchells are?
Nah.
Basically, just the briefest rundowns. There's new Mitchells introduced in June thanks to Stevie Mitchell. Billy has a long-lost brother who has kids. The long-lost brother is called Teddy. He has kids called Barney and Harry. And that's basically all you need to know, really. They've just introduced. And this sends Phil down a spiral because he used to be the cock of the walk. He used to be the king of Walford. Everyone bowed down to him. But Stevie, Teddy, both went, Billy, grow some balls, will you? Stand up for yourself. And Billy went, yeah, Phil, fuck you. I am the man. You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do, Philip. I run these streets now. But he didn't say that. I didn't say it like that. But basically he just meant, Phil, look, you can't control me anymore. And Phil just realised, oh, I've lost everything. So he started putting away paintings. He started looking at photographs. He started remembering the past. And as you remember the past, I don't know if this will happen in real life, someone came into the homeless shelter or the Walford community. Mr. Nigel Bates. He came into the community centre. He looked a bit rough. He had a beard. He had long hair.
I mean, for just the bit of preamble, Nigel was a character in the 90s. He was Phil and Grant's school friend who they would always protect Nigel because he's a bit clumsy and he's a bit awkward and he's a bit he's just a bit silly. He's not, people don't really take him too seriously. He's a bit of a idiot in a sense, but his heart's in the right place. But yeah, he made a return, and since he's not really seen Phil in such a long time, where the family, like Sharon, who has gotten with Teddy, Nigel only is there for Phil and has Phil's back.
Yeah, and basically on Christmas Day, Phil was reunited with his friend, with Nigel. It was around Christmas. They were reunited. Best friends at last, but Nigel, not so much seemed golden for poor Nigel. As we later found out, and I'm just mentioning this before I go back to Phil, it was later found out that Nigel had a secret. He has dementia. So now, you've got two roosters, well, not fighting, you've got two roosters in the hen. One has dementia, one has depression. So it's very hard, because one's got a secret, and one wants to open up, but he just can't. So it's kind of just a clash. It's just a clash of styles, you know. It's like mixing your emo punk friend with your country music friend. It's just, it doesn't work, and you shouldn't make it work. And
yeah, it's just that neither man can truly open up, and just they just can't. They just don't want. It's not that they don't want to. They desperately want to, but they just can't make themselves expose the truth because they're two older men, different generation, different attitudes towards mental health or mental health issues, and so both of them are just like, yes, look, Nigel, I appreciate you being here, mate. You know, yeah, thanks. And it's just, you can tell they want to say so much more, but they just can't force it out of them.
It's basically like if you have an older dad and an older granddad, it's basically like trying to get them to sit down about their mental health because they're like, it doesn't exist. You know, it's just, so it's just very hard. Now, throughout the past month, Sharon has been desperately trying to get to Phil because it's like, Phil, there is clearly something wrong with you. But Phil's like, no, there's not. There's nothing wrong with me, Sharon. Just leave me alone. He wants to be left alone, isolated. He throws Nigel out because he's just left Nigel. Because Nigel's like, oh, Phil, I can get you a curry. I can do this. I can do that. But you need to talk to me, Phil. And Phil's like, no, I'm not talking to you. And he starts seeing people. We obviously don't know these people just yet. He starts seeing people. He starts getting images in his head. He forces Nigel out. Nigel moves in with Sharon. And I guess this is where I can bring it up now. He tries to kill himself. Actually, first off, he goes on a date with Nigel. Nigel meets these two women, and this woman keeps talking about Phil about the past, about like how she wasn't strong, and how like her brother wasn't strong. And Phil, seeing this, just grabs the glass, smashes it, and walks out. He tells Harry to leave the auto garage, the auto repairs, and he just fills a car up with carbon monoxide. He goes to kill himself, but at the last moment he opens the car door because he doesn't want to do it, and he falls into the pit. Now in the pit is very late until Billy and Teddy and Harry come and save him. He goes to hospital, he goes home, he starts losing his marbles a bit more. He starts seeing people, he starts hearing people again, and then it all builds up to this week, where we get this interesting episode, and I think it's a very interesting episode, where Phil, again, after hearing people and seeing them, kind of like how Peggy saw Pat when Peggy was about to die, Phil starts seeing his younger self and starts seeing Eric, starts seeing Peggy, not Barbara Windsor, by the way, just different Peggy, the one who played her in the Babs
Jamie Winstone
biopic. Yeah. What was her name, sorry?
Jamie Winstone.
Jamie Winstone does an incredible job as Peggy. And we see, like, he has thrown everyone out, he's burned photographs of his past, and he has gone and confronted Peggy and has confronted his past, because we see a scene from 1985 where Eric is confirmed to have cancer, and we just see the downward spiral this has on the family. It doesn't have a good effect, and they look for Phil, but Phil is on top of a roof. He leaves the roof, he's on top of the roof of the auto repair shop, and he goes back to his house, and he just starts seeing Phil again. He starts talking to young Phil, and young Phil's like, just open up. And Phil's like, no, I don't want it. Leave me alone, Phil. It's very hard, I'm saying both Phils. So young Phil just leaves him alone. And then, like, we get Jay comes into Phil's house, current Phil, I should say. And it's like, well, what's wrong with you, Phil? And Phil opens up. He's like, I've just been so down. Like, I don't know. There's just emptiness at the end of the tunnel. There's no light. I just want to die. And I've tried so much. I've survived so much. And yet my body just won't give up. I want to die, Jay. And Jay's like, are you all right? And Phil's like, yeah, I'm all right. Just leave me alone. And he leaves him alone. And then this is I don't want to say my favorite scene. It's a weird scene, but I will try and picture it. So we got back to 1985, where Eric, by the way, we'd seen in our previous scene that there was something hidden behind some skirting board. We found out later on that he had a gun. Now I'm assuming, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but in the scene we see, Eric was going to shoot himself, basically. He was going to kill himself. And And Phil, and Phil, so young Phil comes in and goes, Eric, what are you doing? And meanwhile, old Phil is sitting in the chair, like watching. So he's sitting there, and then obviously Eric is sitting there, so he's kind of like that. And Phil stands up to Eric, and he's like, "You're just a prick, mate. Stop it." And Phil picks up the gun, and young Phil goes, you ain't got the bottle, Phil. And then Phil just shoots young Phil, and then we cut to later on. We cut to the very end of the episode where old Phil has shot young Phil. Young Phil is lying on the couch, and Phil's just holding the gun, imagining 1985. He talks to young Peggy Mitchell. They kind of get meta going. This is all in her head, basically, Phil. And she just basically goes, "Look, Phil, just end your life. Could be better off." That was basically it. I'm sorry for laughing, but that's basically what she said. End your life, Phil. Your grandkids will be better off. And he holds the gun. He's about to kill himself, but then Nigel walks in and goes, "Hello, friend." And then I don't know why Grant says this, but Grant just looks at Phil and goes, "All right, bruv." And that's literally the build up to this. So next week we're gonna probably see Phil try and end it all again.
Yeah.
But finally something will happen where Phil realizes this is not the right way to go. And hopefully Grant and Nigel and Linda help him. Also, Linda in today's episode, today being the 13th of the 2nd, had returned from rehab. That's all we've seen about Linda, so that's why she's here. Basically going to be like, I went to rehab, Phil, you can go get classes.
I've been through the same thing you have,
Yeah.
It's not as low as you'll feel now, it's not going to be worth it in the end, etc., etc. It's likely the role Linda will play as. She's not really. It seems like she'll be involved in the fire, but Linda is being like put in this Phil story because Phil was supporting her. He's a like Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor. He was supporting her, so it's now time that Linda, in a better place, is going to support him, which is a nice little reverse of the roles.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the build-up. Now, it's time to put your thinking hats on, as we're going to be like Sherlock Holmes. He's in the public domain, I can mention him, and I can't get sued. It's time to put your detective hats on, as we find out who will be the Walford Whacker. Now, where do we start? Well, to give a bit of rundown, just in case you missed Christmas, Cindy returned in 2023 with Ian. And like I said, 3 things that guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Ian being cheated on if Cindy's involved. And wouldn't you know it, in around October, maybe September, around that time, she started sleeping with a young man, and my mouse is currently on him. My mouse is hovering over this guy. His name is Junior Knight. She started having romantic love with him. And now when Junior saw this as passion and fury, Cindy didn't. Cindy was basically using him. And in a confession she made to David Wicks, he basically went, "Yeah, when I pumped Junior, I think of his dad. It was the bald fella here, George Knight, the one behind Cindy, the one who's standing beside Elaine, who's standing beside Sharon." And she just tells David Wicks, "Look, I don't really like Junior. I only really like George. I don't know what to do." And David's like, "All right." But the reason why this guy was recorded was because Freddie and Anna were recording bird tapes in Walford, but they left the tape rolling, and that's it. Now, leading up to Christmas, Kojo, on Elena and George's wedding night, Kojo seen Cindy and Junior kiss, and he goes to confront Cindy, but in either he was pushed or he jumped, we don't know yet. He fell off the balcony and he landed on his head. Then Lauren, who seen it all happen, who is also suffering from injuries from the crush, is suffering from pain, confronts Cindy. And Cindy's like, "You saw nothing, we'll just pretend this never happened." And she basically blackmails her by giving her, like, just going, "You want some tablets? Go on, I know you want some tablets, you're depressed." And just gives her, like,
Lauren being an addict.
Yeah. So she gave her some, like, painkillers to deal with the pain, but also Lauren is pregnant, which is a no-no. If you have painkillers or you're taking drugs or you're drinking alcohol during pregnancy, it's not a good thing. So we have all these stories, and then on Christmas Day it was played in the entire Queen Vic, just like in October 1994 with Phil and Grant over Sharon. It was revealed that Cindy told everyone, or told David, that was now being released to the public, that she did not have feelings for Ian. She did not have feelings for Junior. She only had feelings for George. Now, the only other person who had this confession was Elaine. But somehow Lauren got hold of it. No, not Lauren. I don't know who got hold of it. I think it was Lauren.
Yes.
Lauren got a hold of it and then wanted it to be played in front of the whole world, so they played it. And basically, on the night, on Christmas Day, she told, basically went up to Gina being this person and Anna being this person, and basically went, they never liked you, shitheads. I hope you all die. What are you going to do, cry because mommy's going to leave you again? Wah, wah, wah. Basically what she did. Then went up to Peter and went, what are you going to do, Peter, huh? What are you going to do, big mouth? You've done all in your life, you're 30, fuck off. Get back in your hole.
She just systematically goes through one by one everybody who's even close to her family and gives them both barrels, taking on any of their insecurities, anything they hate about Cindy, anything they hate about themselves, anything possible she could have said to hurt them, she threw at them.
Yes. Now, you may be quickly wondering, I'll just quickly give a rundown. Who is Gina and Anna? Well, when Cindy obviously died in 1999, she had a secret life as Rose Knight. And she, again, fell in love with this man, I'm hovering over again, George Knight. And just like if you're in a lovely heterosexual relationship, you have intercourse, you then have 2 kids. And they had a lovely child with Gina and Anna. And when Lucy died in 2014, well, Cindy kind of broke her commitment, because she was not supposed to go back to Walford, but she did, and that basically left Gina and Anna without any mother, because from what they knew, she just got up and left one day. They didn't know about her life. So when she returned in 2023, it was a shock to all. Peter had had 2 sisters. So we're now on Christmas Day. She's got 9 suspects. 9 suspects who want her dead. And then, in the cold, she goes to get a... Aiden throws her out into the cold. She goes to get a train. But obviously, silly bitch doesn't know the train station's closed. Calls a cab. She's whacked over the head with a snow shovel. And she's just left there in the cold. The following day, which technically still Christmas Day, the following day for us, George comes and sees Cindy laying there and basically calls an ambulance with Kathy. She goes in the hospital, she's in a coma, and now this is where she returns. A few weeks go by, she wakes up, she calls for Ian, and then Ian tries to get under her skin. Ian tries to do what she did to him, but he's not having it. She does stay with Reiss because they just convince Reiss, look, she should stay. Someone throws a brick through the window. It's later revealed to be Gina. She's throwing a brick through the window saying, I wish you died. I wish you had dead. Stayed dead. And now, with all that being said, she stayed with Ian. She stayed with them until Ian threw her out again, because she kept feeling up George Knight Jr. Kept feeling up Junior. And basically, Ian threw her out again and then just went, stay with Junior. And she went, alright, I will. So she just stayed with Junior. And also, she wanted to get a locket back. The locket having Lucy Beale in it. It was Lucy Beale's locket. And now, she has no way to get into the Beale house. Kathy doesn't like her. Ian doesn't like her. Peter doesn't really like her. Lauren obviously doesn't like her. Bobby doesn't like her. So what happens next? Well, she basically goes, hey, Priya, act sexy to Ian. Be friends with him. And then try and find me that locket. So Priya does exactly that. And that's basically it. And one thing I should have mentioned that I did not mention, in 2024, everyone got their wish when we seen the showdown between Jane Beale and Cindy Beale. and where we also seen Bobby leave because Cindy did not like Bobby and just wanted him gone. Because like Cindy would wake up every morning going, Bobby, you're shit. Like Bobby would be buttering his toast and be told he's shit and they'll kill her. So that's basically why Bobby's not a part of this suspect list.
Just going into it, the whole point about this is since the attack, Cindy's done nothing but accuse. She's done nothing but accuse her entire family of being the ones who attacked her, with her not trying to make amends or not really trying to do anything to dissuade people from hating her, which is what a lot of people do and what the fans do and just what everybody in general does. Everybody hates Cindy, but through the months since Christmas, she's been getting increasingly paranoid and increasingly accusatory. In the build-up to this anniversary, she knows how to get into Phil Mitchell's safe where he keeps a gun, and if Cindy's got a gun and she's so paranoid and she finally finds who she believes is the person who attacked her, well, she's probably going to use it, and that is the danger. That is the absolute danger of Cindy. She has done nothing to suggest. She's done nothing to try and reform. She's just been getting even more isolated by her choice, which means she is probably going to shoot someone or something this anniversary. It is not, though. It is not, unfortunately. There's more. There is more. There is going to be an explosion in the Queen Vic. There is going to be a big, massive fire in terms of the Queen Vic. We don't know how it's going to start. We have ideas of how it's going to start. We have ideas that how perhaps Reiss, trying to get Sonia, is going to try escape, crash into something which will start an electrical fire, which they've been having. There's been like notable flickers of lights and power outages. Perhaps an electrical fire starts this fire. What do we know about this fire? Sonia is going to be giving birth amid this fire. A lot of people are going to be in the Queen Vic at this time. They'll likely be segmented in groups. This is probably where where people are most at risk, as a lot of people will be trapped in the Queen Vic and they'll be desperately trying to get out. Who will survive? Now, we did a whole big video predicting who we think is going to die, so go ahead and watch that if you want to see who we think is going to die this 40th anniversary. But still, point being, someone will perish in the flames. Someone is going to die in this fire. We personally think 2 people might die in this fire, but still, it's an anniversary. People usually die in these big, not catastrophic events, but you're completely you're burning up the Queen Vic, the staple of the community, the staple of Walford. So that is exactly what's going to happen. So that's the big, scary inferno that's going to take place. And finally, just to end us off, though, we do have the interesting point. Chris Crenshaw is leaving after this 40th anniversary. Now, I'm pretty sure there will still be episodes going into, April, May. I don't remember exactly. I don't know. It says he'll likely sit out winter because he would have still been filming further on ahead of time. So, yeah, he'll probably step in March, but the new executive producer will be taking over. So, if you haven't been enjoying this Chris Crenshaw era, a new person is on the way, which means there will be axes to characters, there will be new families made, there will be new storylines, perhaps a different direction to the show. That will be taking place fairly soon after the anniversary. But all in all, this is Chris Crenshaw's swan song. This is his exit. This is his big master plan to the T. This is him crossing the I's, dotting the T's. This is his legacy. So you'd have to imagine he'll be pulling out all the stops. And all in all, we've seen a lot of returns ahead of this 40th. We've seen short little stints from a bunch of classic characters like David Wicks, like Chrissy Watts, like Gary and Minty, like Bianca, who stayed for longer. We've seen a lot of these characters come back into fruition to celebrate the legacy of EastEnders, and this is the legacy of Chris Crenshaw. So I can imagine he will be pulling out all the stops. Admittedly, the build to the 40th hasn't exactly been gangbusters. It's been quite quiet, it's been quite muted, but is there a chance it's by choice? Because that means when these good episodes have been running around, like the week prior, when we've gotten really, really close, Chris Crenshaw and the team have really dialed it up to 11, making for a much more memorable week or two of EastEnders. And that's exactly what you are set up to go ahead and watch after this. This has been the casual viewer's guide to the 40th anniversary of EastEnders. There will be content on this channel surrounding it. You should be able to see it all. Should be seeing live streams as and when the episodes air. And obviously the schedule has already been reiterated. So there we are. That is everything you need to know about the EastEnders 40th anniversary.